Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I am Lulu Freistadt, and I'm the Executive Director of Smart Elections. And we have a really important show for you tonight with a lot of really important information. So we are just going to get started right away. And let's just get you a little bit of information about us. So we are Smart Elections. We're a nonpartisan organization. We are dedicated to elevating election reform to an urgent national priority, which it needs to be. And the main project that we're going to talk about tonight is our project Count the Vote. And Count the Vote is a project that we've been working on actually since early in the year. We tried a very sort of rough version of it in the primary, and we had a fair amount of trouble. We realized that it was a really pretty heavy lift, and we didn't have enough volunteers, and we kind of put it on hold. And the basic concept is to take video and photographs of poll tapes around the country and then compare them with election results. And so I'm really excited to say that this round for this election, we've got it off the ground, and we've got quite a few partners in really important states around the country, in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Florida, here in New York, where I live, in Pennsylvania. We've got partners that are really experienced election protection advocates who are going to be going to polling stations around the country on election night and capturing images of poll tapes. And we're going to tell you what that is and why it is such an incredibly important part of the oversight process to make sure that every single vote counts and gets counted accurately. And so let's just get you some more information. We have a new website for the project. It's countthevote.info, and we're trying to make that a central hub. We wanted a nice, easy website for people to remember, and we have a lot of information there that will help you if you want to get involved, if you want to take photos or take videos of poll tapes in your community. It's actually not that hard, and the people that we're going to be talking to tonight are going to walk you through that and really help you understand how to do it and how to do it well so that the results that you get are actually useful. That's the most important thing. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that those images are clear, focused, easy to read, or that the video also is clear and in focus and easy to read. And then Smart Elections has a data team that is going to be taking all of that data and comparing it to election results to make sure that not a single vote gets lost. So I'm Lulu Freistadt. You can follow me on Twitter at Lulu Freistadt. And I want to bring into the forum now two people who are doing this in incredibly important states. I personally think that every state is important, and I kind of, as I guess as a New Yorker, where, you know, New York really never gets that like swing state status where we get the attention, but I still know that the elections here in my state are very important to me and the quality of my life here. And I think that most people feel that around the country. They feel that their elections are really important too. There's lots of elections down the ballot, not just the presidential elections. And so we want to make sure that all of those races are counted accurately. So that's why it's important that you do this in your community also. So I'm going to bring on two guests right now. I'm so delighted to have them here. We have Eileen Nakamura and we have Nick Bernstein. And I'm going to make, Eileen, do you want to unmute yourself there?
There we go.
Okay, super. So Eileen is working with a group called Coalition for Good Governance in Georgia. And Nick is working, so there's Coalition for Good Governance, that's the group in Georgia. And Nick is working with a group called Transparent Elections North Carolina. And so Eileen, why don't you just talk a little bit about, just start a little bit about Coalition for Good Governance, because both of these organizations are doing really, really good work. And tell us very briefly what type of work you've been involved in.
So we call ourselves CGG for short. But CGG has been focused on all the technological issues for election, that trying to make sure that the technological issues around voting in Georgia are secure, safe, and auditable. And what I mean by that is that since 2007, Georgia has been using DRE machines, and last year in 2019, the Georgia Assembly voted to use a new type of voting machine called ballot marking devices. So without getting into all of that, CGG always believes that what we should do is to listen to the experts, and every cybersecurity and election integrity expert says that the most secure way we can vote at this time is by hand-marked paper ballots. And there are many, many reasons for that, but because of that, we feel the election integrity in Georgia is not good. And so we have started to do poll tape photographing quite a few years ago, actually. And it was a couple years ago in, everybody remembers the Jon Ossoff race for the Congressional District 6, where I actually live. And
that was a race for a congressional district that you ran in initially, right? And I just, before we move on, I just want to make sure that we're connecting the dots for people here. So what you're saying there is that the voting machines that Georgia has been using, first, which were DRE or touchscreen machines, and then now they've bought a new generation of ballot marking devices, which are also touchscreen machines. And you and the security experts that you work with do not have confidence in those machines. And that's correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. But what you're doing in order to try to boost your confidence or try to see if the results are accurate is you're taking photographs of the poll tapes. So tell us first, just for people who don't know, many of our viewers are involved in this and they know, but go ahead and tell us, what is a poll tape?
So a poll tape is it looks like a tape register that comes, a receipt that comes out of one of those, cash registers, a very long one usually, because the elections that, we really try to get a lot of poll tapes for are the big ones, like the one that's coming up tomorrow. But whether you're using hand-marked paper ballots or a voting machine, you're going to be putting a piece of paper most of the time into a scanner. If you're using the DRE machines that are touchscreen, they don't produce some sort of printout. So those machines actually, each of those machines print out its own printout, but those are all called poll tapes. So,
let's just make sure we're clear here. So in Georgia, and I know every state varies, and that's one of the things that you might need to do if you want to get involved in this, is find out what equipment exists in your state. And Smart Elections will support you in that. So just, you can send us an email and I'll put all the contact information up, and we'll help you get started in your state. But the important thing is find out what equipment is in your state, and then whether or not it produces a poll tape. Many voting machines do produce a poll tape. And I'm just going to show a picture of one. Is that okay?
Please do. I was going to ask you if you had one. I haven't prepared.
We have a few. So the one that I'm going to show in particular is this one. Let me see if that came up for us now. Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and go full screen with that. So this is a very particular poll tape, and we use this. This is kind of the poster child for our project. This is a poll tape. And you can see it does look a little bit like a cash register receipt. It's from 2015 Shelby County. And in this is a poll tape. It was printed on election night. And you can see those numbers, 548. That's how many votes were cast at that polling location. So you want to tell us a little bit, Eileen, what does a polling tape normally have on it? What type of information?
It starts with information on the actual polling place that you're at, which precinct or precincts are at that polling location, and then which election this is for. And underneath it, again, this is very different from state to state and whatever equipment that you're using. But in Georgia, it usually shows the top of the ticket, which will be, in this case, President of the United States. And then it will show how many votes were cast for each of the candidates that votes were cast for. And then it just goes down the tape, and it'll go, to Senate races, congressional district races, House state races, and on down, all the way to the end of the ticket. And at the very end, or maybe in some states it's at the very top, it will show the total of votes cast, the total of blank ballots, And that's pretty much it. So you get a lot of information on that one piece of tape.
And what I wanted to show on that poll tape, and I'm just going to go back to it one more time. This particular poll tape, it had the results on it, but when the results were actually posted by the county, the results changed. And so because Benny Smith, who was the one who took this photo, had been able to, had taken a picture of it, when the results came out and they were different, you can see at the polling location on election night, there were 548 votes, but when the results were posted, there were only 330 votes. So about 40% of the votes at that precinct were lost. And so because they had a photograph of those poll tapes, then they were able to get those votes back. They were able to actually go to court and challenge the election, and the votes were restored. And so these are the type of issues that you're actually trying to locate, correct?
Correct.
And yeah, so let's just go through a little bit of the actual technique. So have you taken photographs of poll tapes yourself?
I've taken hundreds of poll tapes because until this year, every single DRE machine in a precinct would have to spit out its own. So we could go to a polling place and there would be 17 pieces of tape hanging from a door or a window or blowing in the wind. And it's not very clear to poll workers what they're supposed to do with the tape. So sometimes they will roll them up and stick them in a plastic bag and stick them up. The law in Georgia is also very unclear, and that's why poll workers are unclear, but it really just says for public observation. They do not make it clear that the public needs to be able to observe every single part of the tape. And so what we have now told our poll workers to do is be prepared for the dark, be prepared for the cold, and be prepared with tape, with your own Scotch tape or some kind of transparent tape, because that will help you in case you have weird situations.
And let me just bring Nick in, because Nick, I know you're working in North Carolina and you've taken quite a few poll tape photographs there as well, I understand, right?
A lot of practice photographs, that's for sure.
Okay, and then because your wife, Lynn Bernstein, is the founder of Transparent Elections North Carolina?
Yes.
And you've been helping out with her project quite a bit. She kind of roped you in, I think.
Yeah, I have become the IT guy.
Nice. And so what are some of the obstacles that you face there in North Carolina taking photos, and what are the tools that you want to bring with you or tell people to bring with you to make sure that they can do this well?
It's a great question. So there are a whole bunch of challenges, as Eileen was saying, there isn't a whole lot of guidance about where the poll tapes are going to be posted or how they're posted. And yes, again, a lot of the poll workers don't know what to do with them. And in North Carolina, don't know that the law actually says that public citizens can go into any precinct after hours and view the counting or observe the counting. And they don't say specifically they'll post poll tapes, but most precincts do. And we've actually gotten the state to issue a directive saying that should occur.
Oh, so you got some clarification from the court about this already?
Yeah, there were quite a few practices that took place in North Carolina that didn't quite jive with the law as it was written. So we've gotten clarification from the state. Lynn is down at the Wake board right now, finding out if we're going to be able to get into the Board of Elections building tomorrow night.
Now that's in Wake County, right?
Yes, that's right, Wake County.
I remember that she said the first time that she tried to take photos of poll tapes in Wake County, they threatened to arrest her.
That's right. She had, a neighbor of ours went to a polling place where they didn't post the poll tapes, even though they were asked, and they didn't didn't post them anywhere, didn't denounce them. So Lynn went with this gentleman down to the Board of Elections to get the results there. They were met at the front door by several people who said that she had to turn around and leave. And basically threatened her with being arrested if she did not leave.
That was in the primary.
That was in the primary, yeah, just a few months ago.
So now she's, what I understood her to tell me, she kind of kept in touch with them and has developed a more positive relationship with the county board since then.
She's been working very hard with many of the board members, trying to just stick to the facts of the law and to make this as nonpartisan as possible.
Right.
So
this is a nonpartisan effort. It really doesn't matter what party you belong to. In some states, like here in New York, you usually have to get a certificate from one of the parties in order to get access to these tapes. So it does vary by state, but it's certainly nonpartisan. And then what I do want to do is also show people, because one of the things that both of our guests is bringing up here is the statutes and how the statutes vary state to state and how important it is. Let me ask you both, do you carry a copy of the statutes with you when you go and do this work usually?
I do not, because the polls are closed by the time that we go and take the pictures, and because it is allowed by law. I actually keep it in my car. I will tell you that I have a friend who was almost arrested because poll workers who were not aware of the law called the police on him. And so that was quite an incident. And what he actually did with that was he turned it into an educational learning moment for the Marietta City Police. And they have now actually produced a really great PDF that I will send to you all, which talks about the right for the public to observe elections and observe poll tapes in Georgia. So that,
you have a video of that?
A really good thing came out of that.
That's great. And we'll put that on our website. So let me I want to show people the statutes because this is something that we've put up on our website, and I hope that you're seeing that now. So if you go to that website, the one that I told you about at the beginning of the show, where we're really trying to create a hub now for all of this information, and that's at countthevote.info. So what you'll find there is a list of many of the statutes that we've started to put together. So if you click on those, you'll, like if you click on that Georgia statute, it'll take you to a PDF and it'll give you the actual statute. And we're trying to get all of these up. And that way you can find out what the specific rules are in your state. And then sometimes they do also vary a little bit by county. And so that's one thing that we're trying to give you on that website. We also have very simple instructions about the different tools that you can use. So now, are you both using a smartphone to take photos?
Yes.
Yeah. So yes, you can use a smartphone, but with the way we've set this up, you can actually use anything at all. You can use a computer. It's just a web-based form that you can submit from anywhere.
Right. So you're both, there's a lot of different groups that are participating in this, and we're trying to make it as simple as possible. And again, if you go to that website, countthevote.info, we have information about all the different options. So I think, what's the website that you're uploading your photos to, Eileen?
We're using CSAY.com.
Okay. And so that's great. That's a website that we had featured on a previous show, and it's a very easy website to find. It's csay2020.com. And if you want to upload your photos there of your poll tapes, you just go to that website and then upload from your smartphone and put some information in, and it will automatically go onto a big map that we have of the whole of where all the poll tapes are in the country. Nick's group, Transparent Elections North Carolina, decided to get their own form. Nick, are you able to put that into the chat in the comments? Where people would upload the form in North Carolina, upload their photos?
Yeah, if you just go to Transparent Elections NC, there will be, on the front page, there'll be two buttons, and one will say, upload with my Google account, and the other one will say, no, I want to email the results. In either case, there's a form where you fill out the information, And but I will add it to the. I'll add that email address to the chat.
That's transparentelectionsnc.com.
.org.
.org. Okay, nc.org. So let's get the banner up there. There. Okay. So if people, now that's only for North Carolina, right?
That's correct.
Like if I take some poll tape pictures in New York and I decide I want to upload them to you, will they get to someone anyway? Or do you really just want North Carolina?
Well, right now the form has a drop-down list for all the counties in North Carolina. So it would be a little tough to fill out the form correctly.
Okay, so North Carolina only, you can upload your photos here. Anywhere else in the country, you can upload photos to csay2020.com. And then let's just talk a little bit about what types of things you might want to bring. So I understand that sometimes it's good to bring a flashlight.
Always. It will always get dark because in Georgia, the polls close at 7. It never takes less than 30 minutes for the polls to close, if they close on time, first of all. It's usually about 45 minutes to an hour later that the whole entire poll location is packed up and they're ready to go. Usually the last thing that the poll workers do as they walk out the door is to post the poll tapes. If you're one of the lucky people who feels comfortable with talking to the poll workers, in Georgia, again, the law is that as soon as voting has ceased, everything becomes a public space. So even though the poll workers are working on breaking down things and, the public can't touch anything, we can observe. We're allowed to observe what's going on and how they're making sure that the tapes are coming out of the scanners correctly and all of that.
Now, again, this really varies state to state. In New York, you can't. You've got to have a certificate. And if you're not, you've got to get in there before the polls close. In New York, it's 9 p.m. You've got to get in there probably 8:30, show your certificate. And then usually they'll only post it in an area called inside the guardrail. And you've got to have your certificate to get in there. And sometimes they will not let you take a photograph in New York. In New York City, there's actually a prohibition against photography in the polling location. So you can ask, and if the polling inspector wants to, they will let you take that photo. So again, this is like it really varies state to state. Go to that website, countthevote.info. Look at those statutes and see what are the rules in your state. If we don't have your state up yet, email us. contact@smartelections.us, and we will find your statutes for you. We are working on them as quickly as we can. And I think usually I have a banner with our contact information. Let's just get that up real quick so that if people want to contact us, they can. That's contact@smartelections.us. So if you need the statute done for your state, and you are ready to go out and take these photographs, we'll jump on it for you. So go ahead and let us know there. And the other thing is we're going to need people working on the data with us. Nick has been working on that data with us. And we'll pop to that in a minute. What are the other tools that you're going to need? So bring a flashlight. What else?
Bring a flashlight. The biggest recommendation I have after the flashlight is to bring a friend, a buddy, a child, somebody who can help you. I roped my kids into it, my husband into it. 2 reasons. One is because it is so much easier if somebody else holds the flashlight while you are taking the picture. It's very hard for the people who think, oh, well, I have a flashlight on my smartphone. Reflections, sometimes poll tapes are posted on the inside of the building. So you have the glass on the outside and you're trying to get the angle right so that there's no glare. All of that is a lot easier with 2 people. And the other reason is sometimes you don't know which door or window around the building people have been coming in and out of, if it's a polling location that you're not familiar with. I have had to walk around entire school grounds and found an entrance that you have to go downstairs. It looks like you're going into a gym or something. And there, lo and behold, there were the poll tapes after walking around like twice on the outside of the school. So it really is a hit or miss type of thing. And that's also why we really encourage, people to try and look around with a partner, because it makes it's a little scary sometimes when it's dark and it's lonely and it's cold also. So
fighting for democracy is tough,
exactly, exactly. I mean,
like
after you do this, you just feel like you did a great job and you've done something good. So, and then for people like me who has a height challenge, it's good to take a little light step stool. That is one of the best things that I've ever found, because pull tapes can be anywhere. And also, once you unfurl them, sometimes you want to put them back up so other people can see. And in Georgia, again, you can touch them. They are public property now. You just have to make sure that they are, put in a good location. So the step stool just helps with lighting and all kinds of things.
Great. And then I also have a feeling that tape is pretty handy.
Tape helps, especially because sometimes it gets windy. And so if you can imagine, these tapes are kind of fluttering in the wind. A lot of times the pull managers never think about the pull tapes at the end. And so they find this, piece of tape that was stuck on something else that they ripped off, and they somehow got the tape to stick, but it's barely hanging by a thread. And then the wind is just blowing the tape all over. So it helps for you to be able to tape it down well, or in the case of some very long tapes, and it really depends on how many races you have on how long the tape is. In some cases, they will cut the tape and put it in sections. And the sections tend to curl up at the end, just like a receipt would, a cash register receipt. So it's nice to be able to tape that down. The one other thing that I always take is sticky notes, because this is my trick, but I have learned after taking hundreds and hundreds of pull tapes, when I look on my phone, it's just like little strips of paper, and I don't know when I started and stopped at one location. So what I do is I take the sticky tape, and then I'll write, like this one is Fulton County Library, Fulton Library. Maybe I'll put the precinct on it, just so that I can stick this with the top part of the pull tape. And so my first picture is always going to be a big screenshot, like a spanning shot of the location, how the pull tapes were put up. So you can see, if sometimes they don't post the pull tapes. You can see if there are no pull tapes, you need to take a picture of that as proof as well. If there are pull tapes, take a picture of something that shows you, oh, it's a school and there are pull tapes on a door. And then I'll go.
So you're talking about kind of like a surrounding shot, like a contextual shot that shows this is where it is. And then you put your sticky note up there with the top of the pull tape. Each one is identified. I've seen your photos, and we'll get some of those up on our website also for people to take a look at. And if there's no pull tape, this is a really important thing that she just mentioned. If there's no pull tape, that's where you put up a little sticky that says no pull tape and show the picture of the empty space, because that's in some cases illegal. If the law requires them to put up a pull tape, then they haven't. And I want to just go to, I want to show these really great instructions. Actually, one of the groups that has been helping sign people up is called Validate the Vote USA.org. And I have to say, I was so impressed. I went to their website today and I saw what I think is really the most clear instructions that I've seen about the, kind of like image-wise, to give you an image of how this works. And they really show the overlap also. So here you can see when you take the photos, it has these things that we're talking about, the tools that we've been talking about, the flashlight, the stool, the pen and paper, and the tape, right? And then if you keep scrolling down, they show you kind of like how to set this photo up. So there's your first photo, and then in Eileen's system, you're gonna put your sticky note with your location right next to that before you shoot it. And then you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna overlap these photos one at a time, so that the bottom of one overlaps with the top of the next one, so that you'll be able to get the whole tape that way. And I think that's so clever how they've shown that. Do you like that system, Eileen?
I do. It's very good.
Okay, so and that those instructions are at a website called validatethevote.usa.org. So we'll just put that up for you. And I think the one thing that I really would like to just hear from you both before we go is why you're doing all of this. Why is it so important? I know you, Nick, and Lynn have just like spent months preparing for this and working on this. I know that it must really, really mean a lot. And I really want you to communicate that to people. Why are we doing this? What difference does it make, these poll tapes? Most people have never even heard of them.
Yeah, that's right. This is, we've been living and breathing this for about 6 months now. You know, the laws in North Carolina, some of them are very good, but others of them, for instance, getting the results from the precinct to the county, they're brought by one person who just drives them in their car. So it
Is
depends
that legal?
on the.
They can legally do that?
In North Carolina, the chief judge at every precinct puts all the ballots, the USB stick, and a copy of the poll tape in his or her trunk, and drives sometimes 20 or 30 minutes to the county board by themselves and hands off all this material.
You could even lose something like that accidentally. You could forget half of that in your trunk and just absentmindedly lose half your results.
Absolutely. And there are very innocent ways that those results could be lost. And then once they arrive at the county, they get sent to the state, where it's easy to lose track of what happened at a precinct. If numbers are changed at that level, either by a state actor or other nefarious people, it can be almost impossible to detect that. So it really is just making sure that the process is followed through, and that what comes out of the machines at the precinct end up being the official results.
Great. And would you concur with that, Eileen, about how important that is?
Yeah, and I have a really good example of why this is such important work. In 2018, another race that I'm sure the entire country remembers is the Stacey Abrams versus Brian Kemp governor's race. During that race, it was not the governor's race that produced very strange results, but it was our investigation, Coalition for Good Governance's investigation, that turned up that the lieutenant governor's race, the second in command's race, had a very, very strange drop-off. So there's usually a very natural drop-off for every race on a ballot. You know, people get tired. By the time they get to the end of the ballot, some people just ignore them. So if 100 people vote for governor, then maybe 90 will vote for lieutenant, and then down and down and down and down. When you look at the 2018 race in Georgia, the governor votes like this. All of a sudden, lieutenant governor goes down to it. We lost about 170,000 votes. And then for the secretary of state, it went right back up. And then the natural downward curve occurred for the rest of the races. And nobody to this day can explain why there was such a drop off. But we also found out through looking at through looking at the poll tapes, that there was one machine in Brian Kemp's home precinct in Athens, Georgia, that produced completely anomalous, completely opposite results from what we would expect in a highly majority-minority area. All of the other machines in that precinct had, it happened to have very high Democratic votes, like the Democrats won in every single race. On one machine, it was completely flipped, and
so it was reversed.
Yes.
In that one machine, in that one location, it seemed like the whole machine had reversed the results.
Right, and we call that the Winterville number 3 machine. We know it by its location and the machine. But During that time, because they were DRE machines and each machine produced a tape, we could narrow it down to which machine seemed to have something going on with it. Now we are still fighting in court to be able to see the insides of what was happening, and we're working on that, 2 years later. But that just goes to show why it's so important to take these pull tapes. You just never know what could happen. And so we're always in this for the long haul. We're not just, to us, we understand how important it is for people to be able to say, okay, this is the results that got posted officially on the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, or however many days it's going to take for us to know what the results are. That's very important to compare back to the precinct level and be able to compare to the poll tapes. But to be able to also look at the big picture and see, like, another thing that Coalition for Good Governance found was that in the heavily African American districts, there were also drop-offs, anomalies that we cannot explain. And again,
and you found this information from the poll tape photos that you took. Right. So one of the things that we're doing is we're comparing the poll tapes to the immediate election night results. But many groups are going on to do much more detailed analysis. And I want to just read a quote from the executive director of Marilyn Marks that she sent me. She was very hesitant to have too much information about this because, as Eileen said, that you're still in court over this information. But she said, you can just say that it is in live discovery with experts examining the forensics, and we are not at liberty to have someone speak on it any further. So there's definitely something going on, and the poll tapes were one of the key ways that you located that. So I just want to thank you both so much for being here with us. If you want to have if you want to find out more information about either of these groups, their contact information, again, is on our website at countthevote.info. And if you want to emulate what they're doing, learn from them and do it in your own state, in your own, even just in your community, in your city, in your county, in one precinct, we are totally here to help you and support you to do that. So again, just shoot us an email at contact@smartelections.us. And we also, we didn't have too much time to talk about it. I'm gonna say goodnight to you, Eileen. Thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
And we're just gonna talk a little bit about the data. Nick is really helping us on the data team. And tell us a little bit about kind of the process of what, just quickly, we really just have a little time here. What are we hoping to do once we have all of these results from the poll tapes? What are some of the things that we're really hoping to accomplish with it?
Sure. So what we're going to end up with is lots of individual pictures of poll tapes. So the very first thing that you need to do is turn those pictures back into numbers. Often that's done by volunteers who just go through each picture and write them down in a spreadsheet. It can also be done by submitting those results to an optical character recognition program and getting them back. But in either case, you fill in a spreadsheet. You can then compare those results to what is officially published. In North Carolina, they will publish the official results every 5 to 10 minutes on election night. So I'll be downloading those every 5 to 10 minutes, make sure that the numbers are always going up, and capturing any differences. At the end of the night, I'll be able to look at every single poll tape. If I'm as soon as I can get the numbers for one race, I can compare it to what the official result is. We've got basically 9 days before canvass where the election is certified. So if we can find discrepancies in those 9 days, that's really a critical time for being able to put the brakes on an election that may otherwise just go through.
Right. And this is something that if we wind up having a contentious election, of an election that comes down to the wire in North Carolina or in Georgia, we could be saving votes that really are needed. Yes. This could be a very tight race, and these votes could be very important. Votes could be important in the Senate, in the House races, in local races. We could be saving very, very important votes. So that's why it's so important. And if you want to join the data team, go back to the website, countthevote.info, and it says sign up for the data team, and you'll get into the Slack there, and you can ask Nick questions. on the Slack, and hopefully he'll be there. He's been pretty active in there, so he's been a real champ. So thank you so much for being with us. And
thanks for having me, Lulu.
Looking forward to working with you pretty much around the clock for the next week or two. You've been really terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So we just need to get you a little bit of information about our work and helping us out. You can follow us on Twitter at Smart Elections and at Smart_elections, and you can like us on Facebook. We are also on Instagram. We are on TikTok. And one of the big things to remember about this whole program is that you are our PR machine, and you are the people who are really helping us keep this information growing and growing the audience who is really interested in this information. And I have to say that you guys are doing awesome as a PR machine. So when we first started this program for election protection in July, our goal was to have 500 people coming on the calls and watching these forums about kind of detailed election reforms that need to take place. And on our last forum, between the 2 Facebook pages and the YouTube, I think we were up to about 3,500 viewers. So we have exceeded our goal by 7 times. So we are really getting the word out. And, you know, I think people might be surprised to know that there's such an audience for this kind of election reform information, but people are actually really passionate about it. So please keep that up. Get on our mailing list at the website and sign up and send it to your friends and your networks, and make sure that you're joining us and tweeting and spreading the word on social media and letting people know we're going to keep going. This is not just about this election. This is about all of our elections going forward. And when we're back with you 4 years from now in 2024, we hope that every single state in the country is doing this, and that is going to take you telling all of your friends and getting them all involved. So that's a really important part. And the other important part is we certainly could use your support. If you could become a tax-deductible monthly subscriber, you can go to our website, smartelections.us, and you can donate. We recommend a very small donation, like $5 a month. It really helps. That way we can keep sustaining our work. So I want to thank so much the people who have been donating. We have been getting donations, and we really, really appreciate it. It really, really helps. So thanks so much for everybody who's been doing that. So I want to bring on an election protection advocate. This is Patty Crane, and she's going to talk to us about some of this really important work that's happening in regard to the Protect the Results effort. So Patty, hi, welcome so much to the program.
Thank you, Lulu. I'm honored to be here, and I'm humbled after hearing what I just heard about, you know, having your sticky tape and having your camera and having your stool and having your markers and having everything ready. Elections are filled with manual labor. And aren't we lucky that people are willing to go photograph those poll tapes and verify the results that way? I feel very blessed to have met Eileen and to heard her story, and the gentleman too. I'm so glad.
Thanks. So I know you've been really involved in Protect the Results LA, and we're just going to jump right in because we just have a few minutes. So really, a lot of us are very worried about what's going to happen. I think there's a lot of anxiety. I can feel it when I talk to people. Tell us what you are most concerned about first.
So are we very worried. I represent a variety of grassroots groups in Los Angeles. And even though our concerns are not particularly about the state of California or even about LA County, even though LA County has a lot of election machine, voting machine problems, we have many concerns around the country. And some of the grassroots groups are in touch with people in battleground states where we already know that there's a potential for voter intimidation. We already know that some people are prepared to not accept legitimate verified election results. And so the Protect the Results group is saying, all we want to do is have our democracy. We just want to go forward and have our election the way an election is supposed to be. And we want to patiently for the results and not be impatient, because we got to understand that many, many Americans voted a different way. So we have felt like it's been important to prepare people emotionally and mentally for election night is not going to look like they're used to, and maybe not even election week, but also to give people assets and resources and positive things that they can do while they're waiting so that they can understand. So one of the things that we discovered is how poorly many election officials are supported. They get budget cuts, particularly under COVID, and they have staffing problems, particularly under COVID. And meanwhile, they're going to have to count the highest number of absentee and mail ballots in their history. And so one of the things that our group in Los Angeles created was an event called Tally Rally, which you can find at tallyrally.org, because we want more citizens to rally for the tally and just tell people count every vote, and every vote counts. It's really simple. And so if people go in and punch in their state and their county, what they'll be able to find is where's your county election office, and either where can you go virtually or in a car caravan or even personally with your sign. And then we created a lot of social media assets so that people can say, thank you, county election official, for counting every vote. Because we don't want a Brooks Brothers riot as Roger Stone did 20 years ago. We want calm counting of every single vote, because every vote is precious. So we did the Tally Rally.
I think that's incredible that you have that. And I just want to kind of get a sense from you, like, what are your concerns? I know when I talked to you before the call, you told me that there were specific concerns that you were hearing.
We've heard plenty of chatter in the protecttheresults.com working groups, in some of the private working groups, about even the armed militias planning to show up at vote counting sites and at some other places, just in certain targeted states. And they're the states that you would expect based on where we know that there could be controversy over the findings. And of course, who can imagine that armed people would want to show up at innocuous place like at a county administration? Other things that we're worried about is that it turns out that it's not the official results, which take a long time and are carefully verified. It's the unofficial media. So I'm part of a group that has sent a letter to all media outlets today asking them to pledge some certain terms that they're not going to use, and to ask them, instead of talking about the percentage of votes that are in, instead talk about the percentage of votes that are not counted yet. That seems like such a silly thing. It's just the reciprocal, but it turns out that the mental frame that people have about being patient is influenced by that. We're also concerned about.
So let me just make sure we're emphasizing that point for people. So one of the things you're really suggesting is that as part of the narrative, we talk about uncounted votes that still need to be counted. And then, is that correct? Okay.
Yes. And furthermore, not let uncounted votes be cast as illegitimate votes. The fact that a vote is uncounted, for instance, think of all the military ballots flooding back to the home state of all of our deployed military service members. Those aren't illegitimate ballots just because they are not counted on election day. Those are crucial ballots of people who are serving our country. So uncounted votes are legitimate votes. They're just in one pile instead of the other pile. So we want to be sure and share it that way.
And now, if people want some kind of training, I would guess that the work that you're doing is nonviolent.
Oh, absolutely. And in fact, we believe that there's two ways you can do things with elected and election officials. You can cheer or you can jeer. And we believe that cheering is the best way to get started. And we're only going to be jeering if someone doesn't carry out their oath, if they don't count all the votes as their oath of office requires them to do. So essentially, we're going to be very positive and very supportive, but everybody knows to back off if there's any intimidation, if there's any difficulty. Everybody knows the rules: mask up, hand sanitizer, socially distance, or just go on social media. Everybody also knows, has a one sheet of specific training about specific ways you can handle it when people might be approaching you or when you're feeling uncomfortable. So we
Now,
just want to be supportive.
Yeah, and give us some of those. So when people, how do people find out more about this work? If they want to get training to respond nonviolently, if they want to learn more about really creating the narrative of wait patiently for the votes to be counted, how do people get more involved?
One of the best sites is a site called choosedemocracy.us, and choosedemocracy.us talks about the worst case scenario. It talks about, oh my goodness, if we didn't count every vote, but it also talks about ways that positive, upbeat citizens can take a pledge and say, we're going to be patient and we're going to insist that every vote get counted. Another site that's available is protectthevote.com, where there are tons of resources that you can link to.
Is that protecttheresults.com?
Oh, I'm sorry, protecttheresults.com.
There are so many different projects, but I think that one of them is a Republican site, and it might be protectthevote.com. So
it is. No,
that's a partisan site. The sites that we're sending you to, I think, are a little bit more nonpartisan.
Right. Absolutely nonpartisan, because we just want our election to unfold the way an election is supposed to unfold, and then voters will decide. And in fact, many of the themed events that are scheduled to happen on Wednesday or on Saturday are called Voters Decide, which is exactly how it's supposed to work in our democracy. Voters decide. So you're going to start to see that showing up on probably on Wednesday morning. So I apologize. It is protecttheresults.com, and they have a wonderful list of nonviolent training. But one of the things I'll just tell you now, if in doubt, sit down. It's that simple. If in doubt, even if you're on a curb or whatever, if in doubt, just sit down. And it's one of the best ways to disengage, to not engage, but to say, I'm here and I'm supporting my rights, but I'm sitting down, and just sit down on the pavement, and there you go.
Okay. And then I want to make sure that people are aware, this is a very important deadline that our guest 2 weeks ago spoke about. And this is the December 14th deadline. So we want to be patient and make sure all the votes are counted, but we also want to make sure that the votes do all get counted by December 14th. That is the date within the Constitution by which all of the states have to choose their electors. And if the votes are not counted by December 14th, then legislatures may legally take it upon themselves to appoint their own electors, which could be a partisan choice. So patience, but also let's get it done by December 14th. So that's a very important deadline.
It's so important. And one of the things that we absolutely know, that's why the election officials are going to need a different level of consciousness and support. One of the reasons for the tally rally is so more citizens find out what actually goes on in their elections office, which they're figuring out for the first time in history, right? Not the wonderful people on this particular webcast, but your average citizen may or may not have ever worried about their county elections office before this election season. But we believe that once people figure it out and realize that they need the support and the funding, and they need vigilance, people like Eileen out there taking pictures of the poll tapes, you know, they need that level of support, that's part of our good government. And people also think it's the state or the federal control. It's at the county level where everything happens. So it's really important for people to know their own county's situation, their own county's ability to count every vote. Every vote counts.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here with us. I'm going to say goodnight, and we're going to show this video that you sent to us. This is one of the projects that Patty has been involved in, and this video is called How to Stop a Coup, and we're not going to play the whole thing, but we're going to just play a little bit at the beginning, and then I'll put the link in the chat so that people can watch more of it. I watched it and I really appreciated it. I think it really, it gives you a feeling for kind of what might be ahead of us. We're all really unsure. We don't know what's coming, and we need some guidance.
10 things you need to 10 things you need to know to stop a coup. 1. Don't expect results on election night. The unprecedented division of 2020 means we will hear contradictory information during the election. Expect false flags and outlandish claims. Listen only to trusted and verifiable sources. Prepare for uncertainty, possibly for weeks. Patience is a sign of a healthy democracy. Our consistent message? Count all the votes and honor the results. 2. Do call it a coup. A coup is the undemocratic seizure of power backed by the threat or use of violence. We know it's a coup if our government stops counting votes, declares someone a winner before all the votes have been counted, allows someone to stay in power who didn't win the election. If any of these principles are violated, we will declare loudly and strongly, this is a coup. 3. Regular citizens stop coups. Coup attempts are not rare, but more than half fail. Regular citizens, not the military, play the crucial role. Ordinary people like us can successfully stop an attempted coup. How? We show up. 4. Act quickly and not alone.
Okay, so that gives you an idea of that video. I think it's very moving, and I was really really pleased that Jamie sent it to me. So I'm just going to put that into the comments. So that's the link to that video if you want to watch all of that. And now I see Jamie's gone again. She was here for a minute and now she's gone. We talked a lot about taking still photos of the poll tapes, and there's also another technique that you can use, which is to take video of them. And there, Jamie's back with us. So Jamie, thank you so much for being with us. I'm sorry, the timings, everybody's sort of doing all of their different organizing and stuff.
Turn the camera on.
I think we got a little bit of feedback. Maybe my audio mic's just a little hot. Thank you so much for joining us. Jamie is one of the lead organizers for Citizens Audit Broward. And just, we're a little bit over time now, but I think it's so important to get this in. So you're using a different app than the other advocates we talked to earlier. You're using Actual Vote.
Right.
Okay, and I'll put up a video of Actual Vote at the very end, but just tell us a little bit, what's the difference between taking video and taking still photos, and why do you prefer to take video?
I like taking the videos. First of all, Actual Vote is specifically designed for taking the videos and storing it in a court admissible manner. So it's secure and it's ready for court. But I find it's more continuous. I don't have to worry about sorting out different pictures and setting them up with the first tape and which precinct it belonged to. I found that when I took the pictures, I couldn't organize as well. This is much easier to organize and faster, in my opinion.
And it uploads it immediately. So you don't have to keep, it stays on your phone in the app, but there's no other upload. You take the video and then just immediately send it. So it's very fast.
And once it uploads, I can delete it. Because if I ever want to access it, I can just go to the website and access it from there. So once I upload it, I can delete that right away.
Okay, we're encouraging people to keep it on their app just in case anything happens. But once you upload it, you can go to the Democracy Counts website and see your poll tape.
Right, mine and everybody else's if I want to. Yes.
That's great. And then we're going to be aggregating them also at that website that I keep putting up, the countthevote.info. So we'll have poll tapes there. And also CSAE and Actual Vote are coordinating. And so all of the Actual Vote poll tapes are also going to be up at CSAE.com. So whatever site you work, it's going to end up on this map also. So everybody's coordinating. And then just give us a few of like the tips, like the really important things, if you're going to do this. We went over some of the tools, the tape, the flashlight, the friend, the step ladder, anything in your experience. I know you experienced a lot of kind of hostility and resistance.
Right.
Let's talk about that.
I was going to say, be prepared for pushback. And I don't know that people are trying to actually obstruct you because of fraud or some nefarious reason. I think it's mostly out of ignorance to the law. But be prepared for pushback, and be prepared having statutes with you on the phone and at the ready, and have a plan. Like, are you going to resist? Are you going to walk away and move on to another location? In our case, if you don't mind me saying, this is going to be our third go around. And after I've explained to the supervisor of elections, who I thought we had a good relationship with, that if we have obstruction again this time, that we're going to make criminal complaints, which is allowed for in the statute. So I will have that statute with me as well, because he has assured us multiple times that we will not receive pushback, and everybody's familiar with the law, but that hasn't proven to be true.
Wow. So
have a plan when you go out. Yeah.
You've done this, this is your third round. You did the March and the August primary. And then what kind of, you compared the poll tape results to the election results, and about what percentage did you find match or didn't match?
Okay. It was about 20% of the tapes we were able to use. So if we went out and hit 180 locations, only 110 of them actually had poll tapes posted. Of those 110, we were able to do maybe 60 or 70 audits. So of those 60 or 70 audits, about 20 or 30% did not match. Some of them were off by as much as 100 something votes, over 100 votes. Most of them were 1 or 2 votes here and there, which I imagine could have been provisional ballots or I don't know what reason, but the ones that were 40 or 50 votes off were quite concerning, and that was about 20% of the time.
So those were large discrepancies that you found in Broward County, Florida.
Right.
That is really stunning. And there was no, I know that one of the journalists who worked with you, Perry Busby, went to the elections office and tried to find out and did resolve some of the discrepancies, but there were considerable discrepancies that were never resolved.
Right. Now, the assumption is that they were missing a tape from a machine. And then we reached out to, we did a public records request to get the distribution of all the equipment to find out if there was yet another machine in that location that just did not print a tape. And that proved to be true. A lot of these locations had more machines than they had tapes. Do we know if the tapes were missing by accident or on purpose? We don't know. But some of these locations that did not balance was because one of the machines did not have the tape posted on the window.
But then when you went to the county later, did they have the tape?
No.
So the tapes were just missing. Somehow the machines were never printing out tapes.
Or they misplaced it. We don't have an explanation for it, and we've tried to get answers, and we haven't. And that's why I'm really pushing hard at this time with the obstruction. We're going to make them criminal complaints because they need to be held accountable.
Okay, so there you have it. A determined election protection advocate. She wants her poll tape. Give it to her. All right, Jamie.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being on here. I know that you're just like crazy and you're doing a million things. So if people want to join your project, again, they can go to our website, countthevote.info, and there's a link there to your Facebook page where you're signing people up. So I know I keep putting up that website, countthevote.info, but you can really connect with everybody there. So thanks so much for everything that you're doing. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm trying to figure out, there you are. Okay, thanks so much. Okay, so that's our program. And then we also have, the actual vote has a really great new video out, and we will have that up on our website as well that just explains very simply how to use that app. You can download it at democracycounts.org. And let me just put that up quickly for anybody who is interested in downloading that app. So it's democracycounts.org. And that is where you find the app if you want a video. So what we've shown you tonight is a number of different techniques. You can take still photographs of poll tapes, or you can take video, and you do it in different ways. With the still photographs, you do it with a smartphone or a camera, and then you upload to usually csay2020.com. And if you want to do video, then you download the app first, and the app is called Actual Vote. That's Actual Vote. And you can find that for the iPhone or for Android. And you download that to your phone, and then that makes it pretty easy for you. As Jamie said, their group really likes working with the video. So you download that Actual Vote app, and you go ahead and take the video and send it straight to democracycounts.org. We wouldn't mind if you took some still photos as long as you're there. Sometimes when we're going through the video, we're finding that it's blurry and hard to get those results. So as long as you take the video, you could also grab a few still photos just for safety. So we are just so excited that so many groups are participating in this. And if you want to sign up for our data team and help with the work that Nick and I were talking about, again, on that same website, there is a sign up for the data team. So just go and look for a link to sign up for data team, and you'll sign up at our Mobilize site. We'll get your email, and then we'll get you added into the data team. Okay, so we went a little bit over time, I know, but hopefully you found it really meaningful and that it's answered a lot of your questions. And if you have more questions, you've got our contact information, contact@smartelections.us. And thank you so incredibly much for all the work that people are doing. We're really, really grateful that everybody cares so much about not just this election, but about our democracy. It actually means a lot to me. I've been working on improving our elections for over 10 years, and to see so many people just so determined that we should have accurate, secure, accessible, transparent, verifiable elections, people who really care and are willing not just to talk the talk, but walk the walk and get out there and do the hard work that needs to be done. I can't tell you how much it means to me. I'm really, really proud of everybody who's been involved in this, and so grateful for all the support we've received. So thanks so much. Let's all take a deep breath. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it together. Okay, good night.